You are right that the tone has changed. Absolutely. We had first changing moment in Rome, in Vatican. Yeah. Yes, it was not long meeting, but I always said that is, I think, historic moment because we changed the relations during 15-20 minutes. I'm so happy because a lot of lives depends on such relations and dialogue.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky telling top Trump ally Laura Loomer during a one-on-one interview in Ukraine that his relationship with Donald Trump has improved.
Just a few months ago, Laura Loomer was one of Volodymyr Zelensky's harshest critics. Now she's sitting down with him for an exclusive interview inside Ukraine. And according to Zelensky himself, even his relationship with President Trump has improved. So what changed? CNN's panel couldn't believe what they were watching, with some arguing this is a major shift inside MAGA, while others believe Zelensky is simply doing whatever it takes to keep American support alive. The discussion raises a much bigger question. Is Laura Loomer's change of heart a sign that Trump's circle is beginning to rethink Ukraine, or is this simply smart political strategy by Zelensky? Now, if you're new here, I'm Bradley Hostin, and this is The Bradley Hostin Show. If you enjoy honest political commentary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stick around until the end because after we watch this clip, I'll explain why I think this story is much bigger than Laura Loomer herself. As usual, let's watch the clip and then I'll give you guys my thoughts afterwards.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky telling top Trump ally Laura Loomer during a one-on-one interview in Ukraine that his relationship with Donald Trump has improved.
You are right that the tone has changed. Absolutely. We had first changing moment in Rome, in Vatican. Yeah. Yes, it was not long meeting, but I always said that is, I think, historic moment because we changed the relations during 15-20 minutes. I'm so happy because a lot of lives depends on such relations and dialogue.
So that clip emerging just hours after the MAGA podcaster posted a photo online revealing the interview and saying, quote, "I just interviewed President Zelensky at Mariinsky Palace in Ukraine. No questions were off limits and I didn't pull any punches." Well, the post and sit down came just 2 days after Loomer had very publicly changed her stance on Ukraine after she saw Russian attacks on a historic monastery up close. And then she said, "I feel like such an expletive for minimizing the struggle of Ukrainians over the past 5 years. I often said, I don't care. Looking back, that wasn't very nice of me to say." Now, there's some self-awareness there, and that's obviously an understatement on the very nice comment, given some of Loomer's comments on Ukraine. She's said many things, some of which include Ukraine is a country full of Nazi apologists, and now it's clearly a country led by a jihadi apologist. And she's also, said a variety of things about the leader she just interviewed, like this.
Zelensky has morphed into more of a dictator than an elected leader at this point. He regularly likes to call Putin an authoritarian, when he himself is no better and is in fact in many ways even worse.
All right, everyone's here with me. So, Essie, how significant is it that Zelensky would agree to meet with her?
The whole thing's odd and interesting. Look, if she's going to do propaganda, I'd rather it be Zelensky's version of propaganda than Putin's, okay? And she was regurgitating all the Putin propaganda before. So was Tucker Carlson. All the far right was. That's crazy. And I'm glad that she went there, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to be keyboard warrior. It's easy to say things from the safety of the patio at Mar-a-Lago. It's much different when you go to a place. That's why we encourage journalists to get out of the newsroom. It's why we send members of Congress on codels to these places. Go see it. It might change your mind and inform your opinion. But I'm very concerned about how this all came to be, right? I mean, I covered Tulsi Gabbard going to meet with Bashar al-Assad without approval from Congress. And she came back and regurgitated his propaganda and talking points. That was very alarming. I don't know how this came to be, and I'd be curious if she went as an envoy for Trump? Did she go as a podcaster? Did she go as a private citizen?
I mean, we don't know. And David, I mean, let's just be clear here. When you see her sitting with Zelensky, part of the reason your jaw is on the floor is not just because she had these opinions about Ukraine, which were based on propaganda and a lack of any kind of experience there, but were because she has said other things. I mean, she said, if Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry. And White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center. She said can't even watch a Super Bowl anymore because immigrants have literally ruined everything. And there's a lot more where that came from, right? The image of her sitting across from Ukrainian President Zelensky in that context is incredibly powerful.
It is, and all I could think of is, my goodness, the things one has to do to save their country. And I think he decided this is something he had to do to save his country because, they call her an influencer, but the person she influences that he cares about is Donald Trump. Yeah. And if this is what it takes, then this is what he's going to do.
I mean, Ested, what does this signal to other world leaders? I mean, if you're saying Volodymyr Zelensky decided the best way to get to Donald Trump was to do what he just did.
I mean, I think it signals what world leaders have already known, which is Donald Trump cares about the folks in his proximity more than he cares about the kind of traditional channels of information or facts or a briefing or all the traditional ways leaders make decisions. Loomer, I do think it's shocking just to see her in this position. I think it speaks to the blurring of lines with journalists, influencer, like all of that kind of new media happening right now. This is someone whose anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim rhetoric has been so core to their politics. She was kicked off of social media platforms and has only been back, and influence has grown in the second Trump administration. But she's had a big fight with Tucker Carlson. I think this is partly about putting distance between her and him. And I think it kind of reflects where a kind of MAGA lane has transitioned, where they couldn't be against or they couldn't be against aid to Ukraine while also supporting other kind of U.S. role in intervention, particularly when we think about Israel's role in Middle East. I think you're seeing her represent the new wave in which they're willing to defend the U.S. on both fronts.
She's certainly a late adopter on this issue of Putin's brutality in Ukraine. There was
100%.
Plenty of evidence before now of the savagery that we've seen.
Well, it's amazing, in a sense, just the lack of belief. I mean, for those of us who have been to Ukraine, and that there would be a complete lack of belief in anything that was presented.
But that's what propaganda
it's good to go for
designed
yourself,
to do.
but propaganda was able to overwhelm reality.
For a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of MAGA and even for a lot of journalists. If you look at someone like Laura Loomer, not Laura Loomer, Laura Logan, who was once this award-winning journalist. She fell down these rabbit holes too and started spewing Russian propaganda and crazy anti-Semitic propaganda. It happens. That's why it's so incumbent on us, the press, to check these kinds of things.
For all of that, though, you
Report the truth.
You look at polling, and a vast majority of Americans see Ukraine as an ally, and an even larger majority see Russia as an adversary, and Putin as a negative figure.
So the group chat is back. I wanted to talk about this because this just isn't a shift in foreign policy thought. Loomer has gone after Zelensky in such a specific and intense way. And at one point she tweeted, "I feel like such an a-hole for minimizing the struggle of Ukrainians for the last 5 years." This was in an interview. This was on X, and then in an interview with Puck, she said, "I often said I don't care." What do you think is behind her even going to have the conversation with Zelensky in the first place? Because this is somebody who, she called him a fake Jew at one point, right? I'm shocked she took the invitation.
No, she throws tough punches, and you got to respect her for that. I don't know what the motivation. Well, I don't know. I kind of like
calling someone a fake Jew. No.
Well, I'm not saying that. Gosh,
okay, just want to.
I don't like that. Good.
Okay.
Let's be charitable. Okay, but I think the bigger picture here is that the change in posture with Zelensky, right? He's now, because of J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio and how they've teamed up with him, instead of that first meeting at the White House when he was kind of insolent and I would say even entitled, he's now changing and he's working with MAGA influencers to get their support over. He knows the free checks and the free rent's over, and he's going to have to start courting the conservative movement.
David Axelrod, Democratic strategist, saying, quote, actually, no, we can play this, I think. He said this on CNN on Thursday.
My goodness, the things one has to do to save their country. And I think he decided this is something he had to do to save his country because, they call her an influencer, but the person she influences that he cares about is Donald Trump. Yeah. And if this is what it takes, then this is what he's going to do.
Yeah, I'm so glad that David used the word influencer there, because can I be cynical for just a moment,
go
Audie?
ahead.
Look, we live in a culture of memes and internet.
Yeah, I call it edgelord diplomacy.
It's edgelord diplomacy, and Laura Loomer has been more masterful than anyone else at capitalizing on the media and people's ability to click on her stuff. And to some extent, this is trending. It's behavior
trending.
designed to get attention, and she's done it.
But what does it say, though? I mean, no, not that. But what does this mean for American diplomacy?
Yeah.
Does this actually? The reason this is trending and we're all interested is, does this actually signify that there is a change of tone materially from this administration, which has been hostile to Ukraine on this issue, and the MAGA universe writ large? Listen, there is a lot happening in that sphere with Israel. Now, with Ukraine, are we seeing a shift? That is what, who frankly cares what Laura Loomer is or isn't experiencing at any time, but we care.
It means she's speaking out against the voices that are criticizing the White House, right? So take a Tucker Carlson, who's been very critical of foreign wars. Laura Loomer put out this tweet where she is criticizing something that Tucker had said. And she says, Russian state media is amplifying Tucker Carlson, because there's a whole thing where they think he's backed by Qatar, and his latest lie that you're allowed to hate Russians because they are white. Her response, newsflash, Ukrainians are white too. Please enjoy this video of Vladimir Putin kissing the Quran. And she posted a video along. There's a lot packed into this.
There's a lot.
There is a lot. A disgusting submission to a death cult by an absolute coward. So this person has gone from being like, Ukrainians, give me a break, they need to shut up, to injecting the whiteness conversation, like Tucker. It is the right-wing patois of all the things in one tweet, but it does set up a different dynamic. Now, all of a sudden, you have a very powerful voice in that world punching back at
I would say
Tucker.
this is also something to do with 2028. Very much J.D. Vance is aligned with the anti-Ukraine. He was the actual mastermind behind that moment with Volodymyr
Right,
Zelensky.
he's the one who spoke out in
he
the
was the one
moment.
who spoke
Yeah.
out. He's the one who kind of set up that dynamic in the Oval Office. And of course, you have the Marco Rubio, who has always been very anti-Russia and very pro-Ukraine and supporting Ukraine. And so there is a lot more going on here than just Laura Loomer. And the question is, as we all do our Kremlinology or our Trumpology, is what does this
What
mean?
clouds are gathering and for what reason?
And for what reason?
So let me give you guys my thoughts. What struck me most wasn't that Laura Loomer interviewed President Zelensky. It was how quickly people began treating that interview as evidence that something larger may be changing inside Trump's political orbit. For years, Loomer was one of Zelensky's loudest critics. She questioned America's support for Ukraine and repeated many of the arguments that resonated with parts of the MAGA movement. Now, after visiting Ukraine and seeing the destruction firsthand, she's publicly admitted that she underestimated what Ukrainians have been enduring. Whether you agree with her politics or not, changing your opinion after seeing events up close is very different from forming opinions from thousands of miles away. Experiencing a conflict firsthand can challenge assumptions that are easy to make from behind a computer screen. The other thing that stood out to me was Zelensky's strategy. He seems to understand that if he wants to maintain American support under a Trump administration, speaking only to traditional media or government officials may not be enough. Reaching people who have influence within Trump's inner circle could be just as important. CNN's panel clearly viewed this as more than just an interview. They suggested it could reflect the growing influence of political personalities and social media figures in shaping conversations that were once handled almost exclusively through traditional diplomacy. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is something people will continue debating. At the end of the day, what matters most isn't who gets the exclusive interview. It's whether world leaders can find a path that reduces the violence, protects innocent lives, and brings greater stability. Political influence may change. Alliances may shift, and media personalities may come and go, but those larger goals should remain the priority. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Laura Loomer's interview with Zelensky signals a genuine shift within MAGA, or was this simply a strategic move by both sides? And if you're still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news commentaries. I'll see you guys in the next one.